When you think about someone who seems to be able to do so much and have all their ducks in a row, do you have a person in your life that your mind goes to and you're like, I feel like when I look at that person, how are they doing all of that?
Um, I don't think I have a person in my real life. I just realized. I think it's always people on the internet.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well, I have a hybrid of those, which is Sinead from Intuitive Eating Ireland or Intuitive Eating Hub, as I think she is
Really?
now. Yeah, because isn't she doing,
Yeah.
doesn't she have a full-time job? She's doing a
Yeah.
master's. She has 4 kids. She runs an intuitive eating business and she posts really regularly on
Yeah.
Instagram.
It
How?
does.
Might have to send this episode to her and say, Sinead, I need your input.
You need your input.
Yeah, I look at
Huh.
somebody like that who is juggling a family, a career, and studies. Those are the people that I look at and go, I don't know how you're doing that.
Why don't I think that of her? I totally get it. Like she's
Mhm.
doing so many things. This is an interesting thing. Like why, what is our criteria for what we don't understand?
It's the
Um,
different aspects of their lives.
hmm,
So if somebody has all these different things, I don't know how, as somebody who is child free by choice, I don't understand how people who have children who are having to parent and have flourishing full careers. So, to be honest, I would probably look at you in this category as well, Steph. I know a bit more about behind the scenes that it's not
hmm,
always smooth, but I
hmm.
feel like you do a lot. And I don't know how you do it all because I get very tired.
Yeah. I get that. I understand what you're saying. I had a client ask me this actually last week. I guess when I look at somebody who I'm like, I don't get that. What I'm looking at isn't the doing, because the doing to me is like energy you run on, but the the expertise of it. Like I'll do a whole lot of stuff as best as I can. But I feel like I look at some people who just seem to do things in a way that's so top notch, so researched, like they've got a team and they're like, I'm like, how did you get
Be-
that? Like, how did,
because they've got a team,
but
they're
how'd you get the
able to do
team?
that.
Like, to me, I'm like, if I had a team, I would be so much better off, but I just don't even like, I guess it's looking at the things that I'm not good at. Like the things that are not my strong suits or not natural capacities. So when I look at somebody else who's like doing a whole bunch of things that are not within my natural capacity to do, that's the part I'm envying. It's not that they're doing. It's that they're doing it a certain way that
Mhm.
I cannot get to. And so to me, it's like when I look at that, I'm like, that must take a ton of your energy. And now as I'm talking, I'm realizing it doesn't if it's their wheelhouse. That's what they're good at.
So for you, it's more about quality than quantity. That's the thing that
Yeah,
might bring up some of these feelings. Of
that's a
how are
good way
they
to put
doing
it.
that?
Yes, that is concise.
Thank you.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
think that's how I get done what I do because it's concise. And I recorded a conversation with someone for a summit recently for therapists. And when I was reeling off all the different types of groups that I do, from therapy groups to the connect and recover groups to the support groups that I run, not to mention courses that I run and individual clients too, and I do a YouTube channel, that sounds like loads. And I could even hear when I was saying it, I started feeling like a bit of a fraudster because I thought this sounds like I am so busy and so productive when I would actually say that the number of actual hours that I work a week is way less than somebody in a regular full-time job.
Huh. Interesting. So then what do you make of that?
It's a weird one, and this is where I don't know what it is that I can't quite reconcile the two things. I think how does it sound like when I list everything off, I'm doing so much, but my sense of myself is like I'm hardly doing anything.
Right.
How that's the bit I find difficult to reconcile in my own experience,
Hmm.
which is then going to affect how I see other people, of course.
I think it's interesting for us to be having this conversation as people who have businesses and a podcast. Like we're on the surface, we're doing stuff. And I'm thinking about a former version of myself that couldn't hold a job, didn't have, that was only taking care of myself. And I was not even doing that. I couldn't even get in the shower. But the feeling that I have and that you have is like still that we're not doing enough. So, like, there's something else too. It's not just about what you're doing.
Hmm.
And do you think there's anybody, or do you know anybody who is doing a whole lot of stuff and is like, yeah, I do a lot of stuff and I don't feel like I'm behind. I feel like I can do it all. And Do you ever feel like you're doing enough?
Yes, I think there are times when I absolutely do feel like that. Yeah,
Mm.
there are times when I have felt on top of everything. I tell you where it's come up for me recently with my dad being pretty unwell at the moment and sort of stepping into that caregiving role. He still has carers that come in a couple of times a day. And so I'm not going in every day. I'm having to do a lot more than I ever did. But when I do the comparison thing, when I think about sometimes how overwhelmed I feel about it, because of course there's anticipatory grief in there as well, because he's very ill, which I appreciate. There's more of an emotional, there's a that has a big impact. A big part of it is the emotions that I'm feeling. But there are people that I know who are either taking care of parents or who have taken care of their parents, where it took over their whole lives,
Mm-hmm.
and this was what they had to do. And I look at how they were handling, and of course they found it really tough. But I find myself judging myself that there are moments when I find it as tough as I do because I just think I've got one friend in particular who had to care for her mum for the last 6 or 7 years and actually had a really quite toxic relationship with her mum. And as far as her mum was concerned, my friend could never do enough. She couldn't do anything right. There was no gratitude, none of that. And she would guilt trip my friend as well. Whereas with my dad, he has, and this is something I've really appreciated about him because I'd never really noticed it until recently. He has never once in my entire life ever used a guilt trip to try and get me to do something. Ever.
Wow.
I know, right? And I'm
Yeah.
racking my brain. I'm like, no, he doesn't do that at all. And he's in a lot of pain. So yes, sometimes he can be a bit bad tempered, but I've had a lot of appreciation from
Mm.
him, which a lot of people don't get in my
Yeah.
position. And so then when I have those moments where I feel like I can't cope with it, I think about I'm really trying not to because I know that all things aren't equal anyway, but there is still it's something I have to really try and pull myself away from wanting to judge because I feel like other people have to do a lot more and then might not find it as hard as I have.
Well, is that the point that they don't find it as hard? And
Yeah, but then I
like,
judge myself for that and I'm squirming. Even talking about this stuff on the podcast, I can find myself squirming a bit. I'm a bit like,
you want to go somewhere else?
no, no, I'm okay. It's
All right.
tolerable. I just need to
All
name
right.
it. It's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But
I
it's like
think
I
it
can feel. I'm like I'm imagining everyone else judging me as well. I really am. Being like,
really?
oh, lucky you. Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, you got a parent that's never guilt tripped you. You know the whole.
no. I mean, well, it's the same point of like just because there's some pro on this side, it doesn't mean that there's not something else that's in deficit. So like I know from having talked to you for years that like, okay, your dad doesn't guilt trip you. That's awesome. I can't imagine that. This is like the literal opposite of my life. But I know your dad has other things that like have taken up your emotional space. You know what I mean? Like, so it's not
Yeah.
like I think that's it. We are often holding ourselves in comparison to other people for what they're doing without recognizing that if they're doing a lot in that space, they might not be like there's other places that might be lacking. And I know this personally as somebody who, again, I had a client asked me the other week what how I do all the things I do. And I was like, well, I do a lot. What you see me doing is work related, you know? And so this is a place where my identity flows and like I have a lot of creativity here. And it's a place that's easy for me to do a lot. But I don't think I do a lot in other areas of my life that you're not seeing. And so I think that would be true for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're talking even about this, I'm thinking about my aunt who took care of my grandma night and day. Like it was her full-time job. This was her identity for like 3 years, but it was her identity. It meant a lot to her to sort of get her mother's approval at the end and to be the one there for her. But like, and I'm not saying that's the case in every scenario, but like where somebody's showing up in a way that we find harder might mean that there's more going on there from a capacity standpoint for a reason, because there might be some kind of flow there that you're not picking up on.
You mean your aunt didn't have a therapy practice and a YouTube channel that she was
Not at
trying to do
all.
at the same time?
Not even a little. And it was her life dream to be
Well,
not to take care of her mom, but like my grandmother was so grateful to her for taking
mhm.
care of her at that time. And that's all my aunt ever wanted was to be the hero in her mom's life because she wasn't, you know, and she was always seeking her mother's approval. So it was like her opportunity.
Yeah.
And so that's so much of that energy was channeled into continuing to provide this for her. And she's named this. Like she told
Yeah.
us this. She was like, this is the first time in my life I have felt truly connected to her.
Yeah.
So of course it was easier. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying it has to always look that way, but there might be a drive, doing is energy. So what was fueling that energy might be really more to the point.
Yes. Yes. That made me emotional, brought tears to my eyes when you talked about your
Oh,
aunt. I don't know. I just thinking about her. I just, I guess I work with a lot of people who have spent their lives, sometimes consciously, often subconsciously, chasing their parents' approval and like they never get it.
yeah.
And then for your aunt to get it and to realize, to be able to see that as well, I just found kind of beautiful.
Uh, yeah, it
Just
was
moved me a bit.
yeah, this was going back years, but
Mm,
and then when she stopped, when my grandmother passed, there was a really big hole in
mm,
her life for that reason because it had become such this thing. But you would have looked at her and said, how do you do? Because she was always just like cooking for her, like she was there all the time. Whereas somebody else might channel that same amount of energy to something different, or that energy might get frozen somewhere. But
mhm, mhm. I think, and it's actually been helpful for me having this conversation because the more you're talking, the more I'm seeing other things where I'm going like, oh yeah, that and that. There's a lot more uncertainty in my dad's situation. It could be that he'll be gone in a month or two. It could be that he hangs on for a year or two, or you know, maybe even longer. Like it's so hard to know, and the doctors don't know what they're doing by their own admission. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know how to treat him. They don't know how to help him. So they're just throwing loads of different things at him and hoping something works. So there's something in that and the uncertainty that's particularly challenging. And I've also been aware like, when I'm judging myself or I'm trying to like hold the judgment back because I can see what's happening. And I'm like, I know, like how this would be so different if I was talking to someone else,
yeah,
and that this is a big thing here as well. When we're talking about all of this stuff, when you're talking about how, I don't know, like what are the things then that this particular topic, when you look at other people and they seem to like, in your case, perhaps they seem to be doing things at this standard, or in my case, it's maybe more about quantity. They're managing to do all of this. What is it that it brings up in you? What's the reaction inside of you about you or about them?
the reaction's about me, not them. And it's that I am missing something. Like I'm behind and that I'm going to be left behind
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not living up to my potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Ugh.
I
Thanks for
know this sort of
depressing
stuff
me. No, I'm
again.
just kidding. No, I have to check this out. This happened to me yesterday. I was scrolling and I was like, I noticed somebody who's in the same field and what they're doing. And I'm like, they're doing this now? It's just so many other things. And I was like, I don't even, and then I was like, oh, I don't have any of that set up. I should have been on that a long time ago. And so part of the way that I actually deal with this is to, because I do have a core belief. We're all doing the best we can do given our capacity. And everyone's got different capacity, and different seasons of life are going to show different capacities, and different areas of our life we're going to have different capacities. So like sometimes then it's just a bummer, then it's kind of like, oh, I wish I had more capacity in that area, but I don't. So like I do what I can in the areas that I do. And that way I can get frustrated at that, but not at myself. It's like the mad at thing versus the mad that thing. And I do have a compassion for that. But I think what comes up initially is this, oh no, kind of feeling first of what am I not doing? What am I doing wrong? How could I be doing it better? Am I supposed to be doing it better? And then you feel like a little scrambly. But I can usually talk myself through that.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting. So this is it, though, isn't it? That there's just two different parts to this. There's the part that can see what's going on and goes, okay, yeah, we know, we never really know what's going on. We're comparing our insides to someone else's outsides and all of that. But that often isn't enough to stop those
Yeah.
feelings. Like we can know that, and it's not enough to stop that reaction. And I think my reaction is more, or rather, it's less about, there's a part of it that is, I need to be doing more. I'm more affected by this when I feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And I get frustrated with myself for feeling overwhelmed because when I'm overwhelmed, the things that quote unquote should or could be a lot easier and a lot smoother are unnecessarily harder and take more energy. That's what it feels like. I don't know if that's true, But it feels like when I'm overwhelmed, there's way more emotional energy going into something that if I wasn't overwhelmed, it would just be
Yeah.
like an easy task. I just need to finalize some book cover things. And each time the book cover designer emails me with something else, it's taken me several hours to get back. I'm like, why not just do this as a back and forth and it could be done? That's the part where I end up in frustration. That's my predominant response with myself. It's frustration that I'm making it harder for myself than I need it to be.
So then can you talk through that now? What's the next part?
Well, I don't know because I think I feel a little bit stuck in the overwhelm with these kinds of things, and that's why you and I were talking about it earlier. The time the time in my life when I don't feel overwhelmed is actually in a client session because in a client session, my only job is to be there and to be with that person. It's like and I still have the capacity to do that.
Yeah.
But then when I'm outside of the session and there's so many different things I could be doing and thinking about, it's like it waits me on the other side of it. I get a reprieve from the overwhelm of everything when I'm working with the clients. But everything else around that about running a business or even creating content and all of that feels like a lot. Feels like that's where the overwhelm kicks in.
So then does that become judgment? And is that what we're talking about here? Like,
Self, well, yeah, I guess with any of this stuff, because this is comparisons coming in, right? And comparison has to involve judgment. It has to look
yeah.
at this and make judgments about it.
Okay. So what's the judgment? Like, if you, okay, what's the difference between saying, when I'm in a client session, I feel competent. When I'm working on book covers or whatever else, I feel out of my depth. I feel like other people can do it better. What's the difference between saying, like, I have capacity for this thing, but less so for this thing, versus saying, go ahead.
There's a bit there which isn't it, because I don't
Okay.
think other people can do it better. That's not in my mind. I'm sure there
Oh,
are people
okay.
that can do it better, but that's not live in my mind in the moment.
All right.
I'm not there thinking other people can do it better. I'm there. This is me with me, I guess. Isn't it always, right?
Not for everybody, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, even when we're looking at other people, it's normally us with us, but
Yeah.
we just use other people as projection. Yeah. Um, it's frustrating because one of my values, which I have realized, which maybe we haven't, when we've talked about values before, specifically identified, is efficiency.
Okay.
And it seems very energetically inefficient the way that I'm doing things, which means that I am wasting energy, which means that I'm feeling like drained and overwhelmed and all of those things. And I don't have to be if I would just be more
What?
emotionally and energetically efficient.
But what does that require? Like, how do you do that? What are you
I
not
don't
doing?
know. I don't know. I don't know, Stephanie.
Well, that's worth the investigation because I think we have these ideas about like I should be X, Y, or Z, but it's like, well, why aren't you X, Y, and Z?
My brain just goes because I feel overwhelmed because I've got other things outside of it it's almost like it takes energy to be more energy efficient.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
It takes mental space, not energy. It's a lack of mental space.
Okay. So if you have a lot of other things going on in your life, which you do, and big things, and you now find yourself that you have the one-to-one capacity, but these other things that require more mental energy, even just to organize and be efficient
Mm.
around, because they're not your, I don't know if you would say like maybe they're less your wheelhouse than a one-to-one session.
Yeah. Oh, groups as well. Groups are great. It's fine.
Yeah.
Just sessions.
Sessions. Okay.
Yeah.
Then that's the answer. You only have so many spoons. You only have so much capacity in your mind. And so if it's being taken up by other things that aren't to do with work, then something's got to give. So it's not your fault. It's just that there's other things taking up that space.
Yeah. And I don't even know so much that I'm there going, oh, it's my fault. I think I'm frustrated because it's like, I think there is a part of me that feels like I should be able to figure out how to clear my mind, figure out how to. And some of the things that I would have done previously, I can't do because of my back is still bad. So like yoga and things like that would have really helped to like stretch this out of my body. It's like everything's a bit trapped in there, and I can feel that like in my body. I can
Yeah.
feel that somatically.
Well, that does sound like it's like there is some kind of fault. Or I guess what you're doing to me, I know logic is a different thing than emotion, but what you're doing is like logically explaining to me why you don't have the capacity to do that other
Mm-hmm.
thing. And then on the
Mm-hmm.
other side, you're saying like, but I should be able to. But here's why I shouldn't be able to. Like
Yes.
here, you know, like it's like,
Yeah,
well,
yeah, exactly.
it's like,
There's a
why are we?
circular thinking. Yeah.
Yeah, right. In what way does it make it easier for us to not look at that logical side, or what is getting in the way of looking at the answer that you are actually naming?
Well, the answer isn't an answer, it's an explanation.
Well, yeah, fine. An
So,
explanation.
yeah, it's an explanation, but it just means so then so I'm just stuck, am I? There's a
Ah,
then I have to what then wants to come in is the edges of despair, and I don't want to let the despair in, so I have to continue pushing and believing that
that you can
it's
control it
possible.
if you just
Yeah.
try harder.
Yeah, I just try harder.
Um,
I'm sure that's the answer.
that's what it sounds like. I mean, it just sounds like it's more of a grief thing of like what the capacity is right now or what the situation
Mm.
is that doesn't allow for other things to be taking place. And I can respect not wanting to look sit with that for too long. That's hard. But is it easier for us to then imagine that is it easier to think like, oh, I should be doing this
Yeah,
or I
maybe
should be doing that?
maybe frustration is a more preferable emotion in
Yeah.
some way, because it just suggests I'm just getting in my own way somehow.
Right,
It's
right.
really
It's
not
easier.
possible. Yeah, it is a now you yeah, it's sort of that rallying against the powerlessness of
Right.
a lot of this stuff.
I wonder if it always has to go to despair. Like if we look at the facts of my bandwidth is taken up by some other things that are actually really hard right now. And I don't have, that means that I don't have the capacity to do some of the other things that I'd like to be able to do. Does that immediately invoke despair or is there something in between?
Potentially fear.
Oh, that's the
So
worst
if I
for
took
me.
yeah, so if I took a break, yeah, took a break from YouTube, I feel like the algorithm will punish me when I come back.
Hmm.
Yeah, and there are certain things that still do have to be done, certain admin tasks that feel like a struggle, but they're not really things I can opt out of because they do need to be done.
So, fear.
Hmm.
Do you have an easier time then with fear than despair?
Oh, that's a good question. Do I have an easier time with fear and despair? Um, it feels like are these my only two options? like it's like which horrible gift do you want? I honestly don't know how to answer that.
Why do we always talk about fear and despair?
Yeah, we end up back here. This is supposed to be about just talking about all those people who look busy and probably aren't.
Of course, we were going to do that.
Like something else has got to give.
Well, because we're talking about fear and despair potentially being what's underneath, keeping frustration or comparison in the forefront to avoid the reality of the fact that sometimes we don't have capacity to do what we'd like to be doing or what other people are doing because they might not have such a limited capacity at this moment. Or I would like to submit they do, but they're actually acting in a burnout cycle. Because I've done that too. I've looked
Mhm.
really efficient and productive, but I've also been absolutely burning out, and that's not productive. But I guess my belief has become because I have gone into fear around this, is that there is a freedom on the other side of that of recognizing like, okay, yes, I don't have capacity for this right now. There's so many things I that would make my life easier if I could get them done, but getting them done would require a certain amount of energy to get it all set up that I don't have time or energy for right now,
Mhm.
given my other responsibilities or other things in my brain space. And that's really frustrating. And if I go deeper than that, it taps into identity stuff and like maybe a little bit of like, I mean, I don't think I go into despair about that. I kind of get a little more cognitive with it before it goes there. But okay, that's the truth. And I'd rather not actually blame myself for that because
Mhm.
that actually ends up feeling like a more cyclical that I don't get anywhere doing that.
No.
And so I would rather sit with the facts, even if I'm frustrated by them, because to blame myself that's only ever made it worse and it's made me feel crappier. I guess it offers a sense of control, but I just can't buy it anymore. I don't see it like that anymore. I know that I'm doing all I could do. And in the places where I'm not, I can think about that, but I can also register that like there's a reason why that feels scary to me to think about. like,
Yeah.
I believe we make sense.
Well, you talked about the fear for you being the fear of not reaching your potential.
Yeah. Yeah.
And do any of us ever really feel like we reach our potential? Like, isn't there always another level and always further to go that we could, in
Yeah.
theory?
Yeah.
Mutual.
Yeah. And then I kind of come back to this place of what I'm doing now, even if it's not perfect and it's not even close to perfect, I believe I'm getting something from it. Like I'm learning from it, even the humility of it in the places where it's not. Because I've been in places where I'm like, I'm at the top of my game. I'm doing everything I want to do. And then there's a fall from grace. And then it's like, okay, well, I need to be in that fall from grace. I've learned so much from falling from grace. And so to me, it's like my slowdown, that those darker times, I believe they're not an accident. And
Mm-hmm.
so because of that, I don't go to despair because I believe that there's more to this moment than just right now. And that as long as I keep being conscious, that eventually, even if it's a slower path than I'd like it to be or than I think it should be, like who says? So it might not be the way I would have written it, but I don't believe that means it's not where I need to be.
Do you fully believe that when you're in it then? Because I absolutely believe that outside of those moments, all those moments where I felt that, I'm like, yeah, I can totally understand how that might have been where I needed to be at that time. But when it's really live and I'm in it and everything looks darker, I
Yeah.
go through the doubt.
I always have this as my core belief, but I go through periods of time where I go through the doubt, but I don't get stuck there. It's the same with the body image stuff. Like
Mm.
at the end of the day with the body image, it's like I know what control I have and don't have. And I have grief about that. And yeah. But sometimes I go into the pit of like, I almost think of it as like that inner adolescent or inner child kind of meh, like I whine about it, I despair about it. But I know it's a phase because the core belief isn't that I really believe I should be doing it differently or that that's the only way to
Hmm.
to happiness or to peace. I really don't believe that at the end of it. So I go through my little emotional spells, but I come back to something bigger than that. Yeah, I think that's how I function.
Yeah, yeah. So in all the things, the really difficult things that I've gone through, I can absolutely see how they've been beneficial in my life, and I'm glad that they happened in hindsight. And I see the value in them, the small and the big. And then when I'm going through it and I'm in it, there's a part of me that hasn't fully let go of that, but I don't feel it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think because this one's dragging on longer as well, I think they tend to be a little bit more, certainly now, once I got out of my eating disorder, a lot more like they didn't last as long. To be fair, even now, do you know what I'm saying this? But even now, like I must say that I do have, and this is the bit I need to remember as well. I sort of forget. I do have days and quite a few moments where I do feel really resilient. And
Okay.
I'm like, you've got this. This is okay. And something I found actually really helpful for me is that overwhelm is always accompanied by some version of I can't cope, right? There's a belief in that I
Yeah.
can't cope. When I pull out that belief that I can't cope, I can look at it and I can go, it's this belief that's making you feel so bad,
Yeah.
not the situation you think you can't
Yeah.
cope with. You can cope with it because you will and you have to,
I know.
right?
There's no choice.
But the belief in that moment that you can't cope, that you can't do it, that's the bit that's distressing. And
Yeah.
I've seen that a few times, and the clarity of being able to spot that has been really helpful in the moment to be able to go, okay, it's the belief, not the situation.
All right. So one of the questions that we asked was, what does it feel like to be the one who's struggling while everyone around you seems to be getting on with it?
Hmm.
And I feel like where we are right now is that it feels like crap. It feels like potentially frustration, despair, and fear. And I feel like what we're talking, the way that we're meeting that is that, you know how you just said that there's times where you have clarity and you can see what the beliefs are and you can see that the situation, yeah, you can challenge some of the beliefs that create those feelings. I like to practice like remembering that those moments of clarity are the most authentic truth and that I get distracted from that and I go into comparison and the the goal is to not believe it's to feel that. Like I'm not against feeling that. I'm all about it. But to at the same time as I'm feeling that to remember that the clarity is the truth, not these moments. It's dysregulating to get into those places. So I don't trust myself when I'm dysregulated. I don't trust the conclusions I'm drawing. They feel more powerful than clarity sometimes
Hmm.
because they're designed to be. Those parts of the brain are meant to like get your attention, but they aren't. They're like little they're dysregulated. And so that switch for me is like, yes, I feel crap when I feel behind. I feel like when everyone else can do everything, I feel like what's wrong with me, all of that. But then there's an after that part, which is, or maybe it's not after it, it's just next to it. It's like, and I know that that is the reaction that you have when you're feeling threatened. And so that's where I'm at right now. And I guess the question becomes, do we have a belief at the end of the day? Do we ever get to that place of clarity? I feel like we must, right? Like we all must have some part of us that sometimes can feel a sense of, what I like to think about it is like that I'm going to be okay, or it's okay kind of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
That the it's okay kind of moments, even if they're very few and far between, that's the truth. I don't want to call it the truth. That's what I trust.
Yeah.
And if I remember that, then the other parts where I feel in comparison and behind and all that, they still suck, but they're not the belief. They're just the experience. They're just the emotion.
Yes. It's also trusting, though, I think, for me anyway, that I will come back to that.
Yeah.
Because when I'm not in touch with that, I'm like, oh, hang on a second. I really have realized that life is just despairing and suffering and terrible.
Yeah.
And I have moments where I don't believe I'll ever come back to that. And there have been times where I have been, even in like hope, long time ago when it was in real hopelessness, remembering I was like, it will pass because it always has. It will pass because it always has. I absolutely, not so much now, but when I swung into despair and hopelessness, I would feel like an idiot for ever being positive.
Yeah, I know.
I'd feel like I was just kidding myself. Like over
Absolutely.
there, that's the part that. So I think there is something when our emotions are so big, they're just so damn compelling, aren't they?
Yes. I think they feel like truth. I feel like that too. I was in a place like that yesterday, like I said. And in that moment, it's not like I was sitting, the way I'm talking to you now is not what I was experiencing. Like at that time, I was like, no, just no, just no, just no. Nothing works. Da, da. But I guess there's a pocket in my brain somewhere. It's not even conscious at that moment, but it's there anyway. And it's like, yeah, that's part of this. Like, yeah, this is what you believe in these moments, that nothing's gonna get better and
Mm-hmm.
that this is the real truth. That is literally part of this experience. And I guess like it's like there's some mindful part that maybe goes beyond, maybe it's like a spiritual thing. I don't know. But like it's something that knows that if you just hang on, something else will come. Even though in the moment, if you talk to your ego, it'd be like, no, it won't. But like it's
Yes.
something, and I do feel
Yeah.
that. So it's almost like there's different parts of you. There's like the ego part, which is the self identity, and then there's something else, and it's like, I know I just have to wait this out. But it's
Mm-hmm.
not even I at that point. I think it's just like a knowing.
Yeah. I mean, some people might call that higher self or DBT. That would be the wise mind.
Yeah, but it
Um,
doesn't even know the mind. It's like, because my mind is fully engaged with no.
well, again, it's how we're using the word mind. There can
I
be
know,
levels of
I
mind. I know
know.
what you're saying when you say mind in that way.
Yeah, yeah. So the goal might not be to feel that in touch with this in the moment. The goal might be just to wait until you do. Because
Yeah.
I don't know that you can feel different in the moment.
I'm thinking as well, like with the comparison piece, because this topic is along the lines of comparison, which we've moved away from a little bit. Again, there could be part of us that can know one thing in comparison and part of us that knows another thing. And the problem with something like comparison is the mind will fill in gaps. It just does this. And so when you are looking at somebody else's life or what someone else is doing, there are so many gaps that you don't know what's in them. So it's your state that is filling those gaps. So I would be more vulnerable to something like comparison, which I don't think I'm too vulnerable to, but I'm a human being. So of course I experience it. I'm more vulnerable to it when I am feeling more vulnerable generally in myself. And so actually I might think of it as a signal because we'll look at the other person and go, because they're doing that. But actually there's something in us. I mean, is it that we're always projecting, presumably with
I think
comparison?
so. I had a client who put it in this really cool way. She was like, whenever I'm comparing myself to somebody else, she goes, I'm imagining myself in their shoes, or like the way I would feel to be them, but I'm forgetting that to be somebody else is to be them in their shoes. Like, like the difference of that.
Mhm.
Because when I think of a person, for example, that I can compare myself to, the parts of me that feel envious of what she can do and what she's got access to, are the parts of me that feels I have deficits. So it would almost be like filling that deficit with what she has, but
Mhm.
forgetting that that if you're in their shoes, you have to be in their shoes, which doesn't have like it's like really hard to explain. Like
Well, you're taking on her deficits.
her exactly.
Yes, which is
Yes.
just going to be different deficits.
Yes. Which and I'm not going to have my opposite a
Yeah,
deficit.
my strengths.
Like
And I
my
can't take my
strengths.
strengths
Yeah.
with me.
Like
Yeah, yeah,
and then
yeah.
if I got there and I actually was arriving in her shoes, I'd be like, oh, but now I don't have my this. Like because like and so it's because there's no such person that exists that is just like there is no human being I'm aware of who feels like they've got everything figured out and they don't
Mhm.
struggle in any area. Like there
Yes.
aren't these people generally. And so there's a reason for that. It's because everybody's got a deficit somewhere and everybody's got strengths somewhere. And you're going to notice where this other people's strengths are, where your deficits are, but you're not
Yeah,
necessarily paying attention the other way around.
of course. Yeah, yeah. They talk about that with jealousy as well. Like if you're jealous of something someone has, do you want to take their whole life, like
Yeah, yeah.
everything that's
Right.
involved in that? There was a part of me that really, really hoped then that when you said I have a client who puts it a really cool way, they say comparison's the thief of joy.
That's what everybody says.
I know. That's why I really wanted you to say that. I don't know. I just,
No,
for some reason, that's where I thought you were going to go with it.
no. Is there any case to be made for like other people having more shit together than you without like it just being like, yeah, they do.
Yeah. Do we always have to say, no, 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 they
Yeah,
must be
yeah, yeah.
struggling somewhere? Well, it's like anything. It comes to, okay, if somebody has something else or is able to do something else, whether we make that mean something about us, that's us making it mean
Yeah,
something about us.
yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah, I guess you're right. There is absolutely a case for going like, yeah, they are they are killing it in all these
Yeah.
areas that I am not, and they don't have the
Well,
deficits.
well, to your point, I think there's a difference between saying, yeah, they're doing a lot of things versus saying they're doing a lot of things and that means something about me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, back to, we were talking about, I think it might have been in the previous episode that we abandoned, but we were talking about spoons as well. There is an element of how we're not all
Yeah.
dealt
Yeah.
the same set of cards.
Right.
So it might be that some people are dealt more cards than you, or more, when I say better cards, I mean not better in essence of who they are, but like more
Privileges.
advantageous. Yeah, privilege and
Yeah.
advantageousness.
Yes.
So all we can do is like come back to, okay, what are the cards that we're holding and
Yeah.
how do
Yeah.
we want to play them rather than being distressed for not having more cards. Can we get more cards? I don't know.
If the universe so chooses, I don't think it's up to us entirely. A little bit, maybe, but not entirely. And I guess that's what my core philosophy is. And maybe if we like accept that and stop resisting that, you get more spoons.
Yeah, yes.
Actually, I think you do.
I think so
That's
too.
how you get more
It's like the
cards.
parable of the talents. You know,
Uh,
the parable of the talents.
no.
It's a biblical story that Jesus told, which was about, they used the word talents, but I'm pretty sure that talents was a measure of money. But it's interesting that they used the word talents. And there were like three people, I'm gonna really butcher this.
That's
There's
okay.
like
I
three
don't think.
people who were given a different amount of talents by their boss. I feel
If
like
you
I
just
need.
said it, nobody would question it.
I'm so questioning myself here now. I'm going to just quickly ask AI to summarize it so that I can
Right.
say it accurately. Okay, I've quickly got Claude to summarize it. So a master goes on a long journey and entrusts his servants with different amount of money, which are called talents, according to their abilities. One receives 5, another 2, another 1. When the master returns, the first 2 have doubled what they were given and are praised. The third, afraid of losing what he had, buried his talent in the ground and hands it back unchanged and is rebuked for it. It's traditionally read as a lesson about using your gifts rather than hiding them out of fear. But it's also been interpreted more critically. The servant who buried his talent knew his master was harsh and was acting out of self protection, not laziness. Depending on who's reading it, it's either a cautionary tale or the most relatable character in the room. Well, that's interesting. And we think about how we're doing it here, how we might, if you bury your talent because you've got a really self-critical voice, that could be like a form of self-protection as well. I don't want to put myself out there with these things because
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
want to lose
gonna,
it. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna come down on myself if I feel like I've messed up or failed. That fear of failing is ultimately, if especially if it's done in private, it's fear of
Yeah.
self-rebuke and self-judgment.
Well, then is that also suggesting that self-protection eventually keeps us limited?
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
it means nothing changes.
Yeah. But that doesn't have to be a moral event. I think that,
No.
can
And that,
be.
that sometimes we might do that out of self-protection
Yeah. Yeah.
as well,
And then you still have a talent.
Yeah,
So
you still do have a
you didn't
talent.
lose it.
Yeah, you didn't
Um,
throw it over a cliff. You didn't
yeah.
throw it away. You
But
just
like
preserved it.
growth comes from discomfort or risk. Risk.
Yeah, and I think it was more like activity that they did something with their talents as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, to do that, it is going to involve risk. Doing anything different involves some form of risk, right?
Yeah, which is a little different than the point I think of non-resistance. Like the non-resistance can grow.
Hmm.
I think you waste a lot. We waste a lot of energy in resistance, and then we have less to give to because we're
Hmm.
taking up so much of that mental space with all the angst.
Yeah.
I wish it were so easy to just be like, oh, well, now you told me that, I'll just do it differently.
This episode has changed my life. Thanks, guys.
Just never thought of that before.